For more on Facebook's China ambitions, I'm joined by Blake Cahill. He is the Vice President of Digital Marketing at Philips, and he joins us from Stanford, California. Blake, good to see you. Thank you.
Good to talk to you as well, Michelle. Thanks for having me.
So, Blake, as we heard from Owen, Facebook has been out of China since 2009, and it does seem like Mark Zuckerberg is trying to charm his way back in and to President Xi's good graces. As Owen said, he's asked the president to bestow a name on his daughter. President Xi declined. Zuckerberg has also been vocal about reading Xi's book, and he gave a speech in Mandarin, a big charm offensive, if you will. Why does Facebook want to get into China so badly?
Well, I mean, there's 693 million people on the internet and 594 million accessing the internet via mobile phones. So it's a huge market. And quite mature, actually, in terms of usage of social media platforms that we were just mentioning in the opening, Tencent and QQ and Renren and Youku. The Chinese consumer is very into social media, and so it is a gap in the Western companies' footprint.
But if Facebook does actually manage to get into China, what do you think its prospects are there, given the existing social media landscape?
Yeah, I think the social media landscape and the consumer in China experiences something very different than we here in the West experience. And so I think that Facebook would have to look at how its platform operates in order to compete with the Chinese platforms. From the work we do there, it's very, very different the way the customers interact and what they expect inside of a social media platform, from taxi hailing to being able to purchase things. It's very different than what you can presently do on Facebook today.
Well, let's talk more about these differences. How does the Chinese social media user differ from the Western one?
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with what the journey is that they have on those platforms in terms of connecting with their friends, using instant messaging, hailing taxis, researching products, and also in purchasing, that you can do that all inside of one ecosystem, which is slightly different than what you can do within Twitter or within Facebook. Even though they're both experimenting today with e-commerce and instant messaging, it's not as evolved as what we've seen happen in China. So breaking in there, I think, would be very different.
But Facebook's big advantage is global connectivity. Chinese social media sites and apps don't really have as wide a reach across the world. Surely that would be an advantage.
I would say that those Chinese platforms don't have that global reach yet. They're certainly valued at very large amounts of money and could expand to the West, and we're seeing that happen in other parts of Asia. There is absolutely something to be said for Facebook's global footprint and for Chinese consumers to want to be able to connect with the larger world, but then they would have to adhere, like other Western companies have, to the censorship and privacy controls that happen within the Great Firewall on the other side of what we call the Great Firewall of China. But other companies have done it, like Amazon and now LinkedIn, so there's no reason Facebook couldn't do it.
Well, Facebook tried to make a couple of inroads into China with its WhatsApp. It's the biggest mobile messaging service in the world. Facebook bought it last year, and it is running in China. It can be freely downloaded, but it hasn't really taken off there. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I think that has to do with the embedded nature of WeChat, and we have WhatsApp in the West, and we have WeChat in China, and it's so predominant and such an embedded way that the Chinese consumer interacts that it's a competing service. So there has to be something more compelling from a value proposition, and if you can't offer the entire Facebook ecosystem off of that WhatsApp, then I think that also is a bit of a challenge. It's a competing to WeChat, and why should people switch if there's no additional value in that?
So what are some of the main differentiating factors that WeChat has as opposed to Facebook?
Yeah, I think some of the differentiating features are around the things that you can experience within WeChat in terms of connecting with your friends. I think researching information, and what we see personally from a customer journey perspective, Consumers don't go to, say, a Google. They go look inside of the platforms for ratings and reviews, recommendations, as well as to purchase. And then they go back and look at information on, say, a company website in order to learn more about the product. So the journey is very, very different than what we have here in the West. And WeChat
All right.
really enables that.
All right. Thank you so much. We're going to have to leave it there. Blake Cahill, Vice President of Digital Marketing at Philips.